This is the massive lie the fitness industry has been telling you for years. And guess what? The chances are you've probably believed it. Now then, how are we doing, Alphas? I hope that we are all well and good. Welcome back to the show. My name is Andy Naylor. I am founder and CEO of Naylor Body Design and host of the Optimal Alpha podcast. Let's dive in. This is going to be a pretty short and sharp episode today, but with a really serious point behind it. So what are the topics that we're going to be discussing today? So ultimately, really three things. I'd like to go through why New Year, New Me is an absolute load of bullshit. Okay? And also what dangerous trait, maybe even habit, that this sort of thinking creates. And then, as always, what would be the better solution? So, as we dive into these, the first one is, of course, New Year, New Me. So why is New Year, New Me, why do I think it's bullshit? How many people do you know, first of all, who... We also, I guess it falls into resolutions, right? Setting a resolution, something that you want to start doing at the beginning of the year. How many people do we all know who are super successful at doing that? Chances are, if we asked 100 people, 80, 90% of people fail. Because trying to start something as a new year, new me is literally setting yourself up for failure. Because, in my opinion, January and February are two of the most depressing months of the year. Right after a whole month, roughly, of celebration, of overeating, of overindulgence, of lack of sticking to probably any kind of plans, both nutrition and training. Many good habits out the window. Generally, pretty much going backwards, and definitely towards the back end of that month of December, going backwards pretty fast. So what on earth makes you think you can just suddenly turn all that around and undo it all on the first Monday of the year? And you've got a body and a mind that's just come out of winter wonderland. Good luck with that. You're goosed. You've lost that battle before you've even started it. You're setting yourself up for failure again. And yet the fitness industry comes out with New Year, New Me. Moving on to the next point. What is the dangerous trait that this promotes? So this is what I would call the dream killer. It is certainly the root of so many failed opportunities, lost potential, and it's procrastination. And my God, humans are incredibly good at it, which is a worry. Procrastination is just putting something off to another day. Yeah. I'll start that on the first Monday of the year. Yeah, I'm going to start that next week. It's putting off something which could have been started in the there and then, in the now. That's what procrastination is. It's very, very rarely ever a good thing. Certainly not in what we're talking about here. So listen here. To try and sort of articulate this point, in a different way, let's imagine you procrastinate. Let's imagine you never fix any of the problems that you're trying to fix in terms of your health, your fitness, your business, your mental cognition, anything. You never fix any of the problems, therefore you never reach the goal. Okay? Just imagine that. Now look 10, 20 years down the road. Because you ought to be widening your perspective now and again and thinking further than just 6 to 8 weeks. Oh, a 6 to 8 week shred. Look 10 to 20 years down the road. Now answer this in your own mind. Alphas, I interrupt this show with a simple message. This show is here to benefit you and your progression to the best version of yourself. But not only just you, it's also here to benefit the people around you, your loved ones, your friends, other alphas in your vicinity. So why not do a really cool thing today? Something that I would thank you for, and maybe someone else would. Share this podcast with at least one other alpha out there who you know would benefit from it. Why not share the information, share the ability for someone else to grow? I'm sure they would thank you. I 100% would absolutely thank you. This podcast only grows by our listeners, our followers doing amazing things like giving us 5-star reviews, downloading podcasts, subscribing, and then of course sharing it with other people. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Share it with one person, and of course, drop us a 5-star review, download the podcast, and of course, subscribe. And now back to the show. What could be your worst case scenario? Like, let your mind go down there. What's the worst fucking thing that could happen to you? Now, chances are, depending on where you are in your life and what's going on, probably one of the first things that come to your mind is, well, death, right? That's the worst case scenario. Possibly. It's pretty bad, I would say. But let's unpack that. Procrastination leads to no action. No action leads to no progression. It doesn't mean you then stay where you are. You won't. You will decline, probably in many different ways. Certainly physically, certainly mentally, probably emotionally, psychologically. If you see yourself not making progress towards a goal that apparently means so much to you, as the years tick by, you're declining. So let's unpack a worst case scenario. So let's be honest, there's a monster stood behind all of us, and that monster is a health event. Otherwise, we would live forever. So we've all got a monster stood behind us, right? And that health event could be anything. Now, some of you might be sitting there going, yeah, there's things in my family history, my family genes that are things that concern me. Well, that's clear and present danger, isn't it? That's clearly the monster stood behind you, amongst many other things. So we need to understand that there's a monster behind us, and it is a health event, and procrastination allows the monster to take a big step forward every now and again and get closer to you. If you're young, in your 20s listening to this, you probably not even thought about this. If you're in your 50s, and many of the consultations I have every single day are men in their 50s who have procrastinated while they've built themselves a beautiful family and they've been incredibly successful in terms of their business, but they've sacrificed themselves along the way in terms of their health and their wellness. They've sacrificed themselves, and it's not their fault. But the amount of people I speak to who are in their 50s and they've already, procrastination in terms of this part of their life has already allowed that monster literally to hang off their back. Now their health is declining. And the three things that we would look at most would be things like diabetes, strokes, and heart attacks. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, okay, yeah, fair enough. I'm overweight. Maybe I continue to put on weight. Maybe I become diabetic. Well, then the next thing after that is going to be one of those other two things, right? And then early death. But it's probably even worse for your family. You've gone, but you've left a massive hole in the middle of your family. That's a wife probably without their husband, kids without their father, and maybe a business without its leader. And it's something you could have done something about. But personally, I don't even think that's the worst case scenario. Okay, here's mine. Let's imagine we've got someone adding weight, not getting, keep staying out of shape essentially. Maybe becomes pre-diabetic. Maybe the next thing that comes along is a stroke. Not uncommon, is it? They're not uncommon. Right. So someone has a stroke, but it doesn't take you out. But now you can't use the right-hand side of your body. So now you can't feed yourself, you can't clothe yourself, you can't wash yourself, you can't wipe your own backside. You're basically sat in a chair in the corner, in a prison of a body, and now you're a drain in every way possible on your family. That's my worst case scenario. I'd rather be dead. With all the respect to anyone in the world, that's how I feel about that. Now, what the problem with this is, the worst case scenario, people think happens to somebody else. Oh, somebody else gets a stroke, somebody else has a heart attack, somebody else gets this. It happens to someone else and not to me. Wrong. The worst case scenario happens to people that procrastinate. Now, with all the respect that I can possibly say before I say this, let's take the stroke victim scenario. That's now hundreds of thousands of people, probably just in the UK alone. I don't know the stats, but probably hundreds of thousands of people. Many, many, many hundreds of thousands the world around. It's not uncommon. Now, again, with all the respect in the world, if we were able to ask those people, do they think they could have taken some steps that would have solved or would have allowed that, would have stopped that stroke to happen? Could they have changed some habits, their lifestyle, 10 to 20 years earlier? Or do you think it's unfair to say that the chances are most of them would turn around and go, yeah, there are things I could have done that would have saved me? And I say that incredibly respectfully because I feel for anyone in that situation and the family around them. But procrastination leads to that. Understand that that monster is stood behind you. We're not just talking about getting in shape, and we're talking about the next 10 to 20 years of your life. Like, it's a sobering thought. How do you want that to look? Are you taking every step necessary to put yourself in the best position possible to extract everything from this one chance that you get while you're here? You've got one chance. This is it. So what are you going to do now to make sure that the next 10 to 20 years are going to be the best of your life? Because the worst case scenario doesn't happen to other people. It happens to procrastinators. It is such a bad trait, both in our health and wellness and in business. So what is a better solution? Well, it's pretty bloody obvious, isn't it? The best time to start getting after a goal was yesterday. The next best time is today. Start now. Use what you have. Do what you can. Otherwise, in the 2 months down the line, you'd have wished you'd started today. Don't fall into the trap of I'm gonna get Christmas out of the way because I can't start anything before Christmas because I just won't be able to stick to a plan. Yeah, and then comes January and you can't stick to a plan, and on it goes. Or now I need to start after Easter. Now I need to start after my holiday. Now I need to start after how long are you going to do that for? Start today. Do what you can, use what you have. You don't need it to be perfect. Stop waiting for the perfect circumstances, because guess what? They don't exist. The first Monday of the year is far from the perfect set of circumstances to start sorting your health out. Right now, today is when you should be doing that. You are facing clear and present danger of a monster stood behind you. It's there. Stop kidding yourself. It's there. And it will be taking steps closer to you every month, every week, every day that you can't be asked to just start taking some action. So my alphas, that is the simple message today. It's quite a sobering thought. It's quite a serious one today. But as we approach this time of year, we see this so much. And I talk to a lot of people, yeah, I'm really interested, but I'm going to start after the new year. And I'm like, okay, fine, but it won't be with us. That's how serious I take it. I will not take on into our program someone who's prepared to procrastinate on their life for 2 months. Not interested. I'm really not. We go looking for the people who are able to take action and take it now. Why? Because those are the people who are a success. Those are the people that will reach their goals and get results. Those are the people who I want in the program. So, guys, thank you so much for your time today. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you have, as always, how about dropping a 5-star review? Maybe give us a few comments, and I'll see if I can read some out, as always, at the beginning of one of the episodes. If this has resonated with you and it's compelling and you're like, I don't want to be one of those people that waits until New Year because I've done that before and it didn't work. How about I do something different? Then we want to speak to you. Because then you're one of the people with the mindsets that we know we can help you achieve great things. So get into the show notes, go and find the link. There'll be a link in there to click to book a call. There'll be a few quick questions, and you get to speak to one of me and my team. Simple call. We just want to find out a bit about you. That'll be it. Very, very simple. We just want to understand your circumstances, and simply we ask ourselves the one question: could we possibly help? That's all we need to do on that call. So I'm going to leave it for here. Thank you so much, as always, for being in the episode and being here. And I will be back next week. Over and out.